predator vulnerability. And also for another factor of risk factors during this process. Therefore, female, after they obtain adequate number of sperms from the male, it tends to end this process, whilst male prefer to prolong it. Why? Because the prolonging copulation time will ban the female from the mating with other males. The optimal duration of mating is the outcome of the ability of female to end and the ability of male to prolong the mating process. Generally, prolonged mating duration is a combination of increased paternity shares. It should be okay. It should be occur by the coincidence, by the consent of the two partners, male and female. Copulating males or ejaculates stimulate decreased receptivity of the female to courting male, other coward male. The gap of knowledge here is the mating biology of Cynopionidea as general, and for our beetle in specific has paid very little attention. I will show you that the last paper that worked on the biology of Belapse collarii in 1988. This study aims to demystify the mating behavior of the darkling beetle, Belapse collarii. Materials and methods. We have collected the insects from the study area in the northern bound region of the Saudi Arabia, Al-Jawf region. This is a subtropical region. It is somehow higher than the sea surface, and also it is characterized by the arid atmosphere. Insects, after we collect the insects from the field, insects have been identified according to the available key of the Coleoptera, and also again according to our study at 2019, we have a reference group of these insects rearing and observation. Here is the study matter. We have video recording. We have a video recording. I will see you. I will show you. I will show you some of these videos. We have recorded these videos, and then we analyze the action of the mating between male and female. The durations have been statistically analyzed using the SPSS version 20. And now we are going to the results. The results are insect identification. Insects are identified as Black's cholerae. Description of the mating. We determined the 3 distinct phases of the mating: pre-copulatory courtship and copulation and ejaculation, and then post-copulatory guarding the duration of mating stages of beta cholerae. Insect identification. Here we identify the insect according to the antennae and tarsal formula, and also according to the end of the arm. Description of mating process. As you see, figure A, B, C, D, and also EF. From figure A to figure F to figure F. These all are pairs when the male are ascending on the female. G and H. This is one of the post-copulatory courtship, pre-copulatory courtship process. And now we will go to the copulation and ejaculation. The G and H and I are the copulation. When the female and male go into sexual intercourse, complete sexual intercourse, and then the female, after ejaculation, after finishing the ejaculation, is going to the this process here and here. It remove his edicus, and this L, figure L, is for post-copulatory guarding. I will see now the videos. This is the ascending of male on the back of female. This is a copulation process. You will see that the female every time try to end the process, and the female does not end the process. So we said that the overall time or duration of the process are the outcome of the ability of female to end and the male to prolong. The tapping of the female with the tarsi is a very common process from pre-copulatory to copulatory and also post-copulatory. I want to see you This is post-copulatory. It after it removes the edigus from the female completely, it becomes on its back, as you see. Now we are going to our presentation another time to see the duration of the mating process. Precopulatory courtship, it takes about 10 minutes. This period comprises many of the events, such as thrilling, which is tapping of the insect by the antennal contact, and also tapping with the tarsi, and also liking the female abdomen with the mandible and maxillae of the female. After that, the ascending on the back of the female, and then the male caught the female with his legs, and then it slides to the end of the female, and the female, when it is accepting the mating process, it will permit them to intercourse, and it inserts its edigus in the female genital opening, and after this, it will ejaculate its nuptial gifts, which contain sperms and other materials, and after that, it will remove the edigus from the female by very fast and hard jerking of its end, and after that, it will be on its back, still on its back in the post-copulatory guarding, and this will take about also 10 minutes, and the overall time for the complete mating is about 32 minutes. This is the statistical analysis of about 30 mating process. Conclusion: results showed that mating occurred in 3 complex phases: pre-copulatory courtship, copulation and ejaculation, and post-copulatory guarding. Female was the key gender for success of mating, because sometimes female, we observed that sometimes female flip itself and omit the male from its back, and so the process does not succeed. We feel that sometimes the female is not perceptive and is not accepting mating process, maybe due to many factors. Pre-copulatory courtship may include tactic and olfactory stimuli. It lasted about 10 minutes. Male is the more dominant during the copulation process, copulation and ejaculation stage. Okay, it lasts for 12 minutes, and post-copulatory guarding is to ban other males from mating with the female. It lasted about 10 minutes. This is some references I will show you. This is the last article that have been done on Blebs cularia. Thank you, and now I am ready for your question.
A question for, there is a question from Professor Fathi.
Where?
Yeah, in the chat board.
Chat?
Yeah, at the chat board, there he is saying, thank you, Dr. Ala, about this wonderful topic. And I would ask you, what is the reason for the spread of this battle in Saudi Arabia with these large numbers on the last year at Al Jawf? A lot of people were terrified. So what should we do about the insect?
Okay, okay. Thank you, Dr. Fathi, for this question. Yes, I think one or more year ago, these insects were spread in very, very, very high numbers in many places and many buildings also. And I interpret this phenomena with the very high rainy season, because this process of the spread of these insects and the invasion of this insect to the cities, this insect usually found in deserts and also in some farms with very low vegetation, okay? So when the breeding sites are spoiled by the high rainy season, these insects decide to find another places, so they invade the cities and spread with these large numbers in I think about 2 years ago. Thus, it is related to climatic changes. Okay. I didn't know if if you
Thank you.
See my answer or what?
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ala. Is there any other question? Yeah, he's saying, okay, thank you for interpretation. There is another question from Dr. Isa Rashidi. He is saying, thank you, Dr. Ala, for this important topic. I am wondering how their mating process is different than other insects.
Yeah. Thank you, Doctor, for this question. But as I said in the presentation, in the background, most of insects have these three phases, but this insect may prolong the duration from other insects. The most studied family of the order Coleoptera of the beetles are Cerambycidae. Cerambycidae are one of the long-horned beetles, and they are adequately studied in the mating behavior of them. And these insects, in general, behavior did not differ from the other beetles, except that the pre-copulation or pre-copulatory courtship may take very short time in some insects and may take very long time in another, and may have very detailed events in some insects. In some insects, thrills, and also tapping. All of these are events, or you can take it as motion, okay, or movements in somehow to make the female acceptable to the mating or copulation process. The female, if it is unacceptable in this stage, in this phase, the copulation process, or the mating process, it will be not succeeding. Okay, but if the male in the pre-courtship, pre-copulatory courtship, succeed in making the female acceptable to complete the process, this is a key factor for the successful mating process. After that, after the female permits the male to complete the copulatory and ejaculation, after that, the female is the dominant, or sorry, the male is the dominant key factor in the process. After that, it will guard its female from other males to mate with it. This is the full process. As we said, female is the key factor in the process at the beginning, or the starting process, pre-copulatory courtship. Female may disrupt the process and does not permit the male to make the copulation. And after that, if it accepts the process of copulation and also liking the female with maxilla, and this is the mouth parts, with mouth parts of the female, is a very characteristic behavior for this insect. After that, the male is the dominating factor in the process. After that, it will end after copulation guarding, post-copulation guarding. I hope I answer your question, Dr. Isa.
Thank you, Dr. Ala.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I think Dr. Hazem, our keynote speakers, were not present yet, both of them. So I would ask you to go with Dr. Reem.
Is Dr. Hazem present or what?
No, Dr. Hazem is not here yet. And also Dr. Bassiouni, Dr. Yes, Dr. Sufyan is not here yet as well. So I believe we can go with Dr. Reem. She is present.
Reem?
Yes.
Okay.
Dr. Reem, can you hear us? Just to confirm with her. Yeah, just to confirm with.
Yeah.
Yes.
He is here.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr.
Yeah, alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So go ahead, Dr. Ala, just introduce her.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Dr. Reem Al-Ajami is associate professor in the King Saud University at KSA. And he is one of the most impressive and good persons. I don't want to prolong my speech because she's like my sister, and inshallah, I hope all best goods for her. Now you can share your presentation, Doctor.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. In the beginning, I would like to. Is it the voice is clear, Doctor?
Yes.
Now is clear.
Okay,
Before
fine.
is not clear. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer of this conference to give me this opportunity to share my work with everybody attending this conference. I'm going to talk about molecular identification of red palm weevil, Rhynchophorus ferruginous, collected from different regions in Saudi Arabia. My presentation will include introduction, aims of the study, materials and methods, results, and finally, conclusion and recommendations. What is Rhynchophorus ferruginous? Rhynchophorus ferruginous is an insect. It's a beetle. It's worldwide distributed. It's known as a very important insect, as it is a pest for it's infect about 100 million date palms all over the world. In the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, actually 21.5 million date palms are infected, which produce, actually they produce normally about 1 million tons of dates every year. It is associated with food security in Arabian Peninsula, and it is the most global dangerous insect species threatening not only the date palms, but actually it infects coconut palms and other different types of palm all over the world, oil palm, for example. It has a common name. This is the scientific name, which is Rhynchophorus ferruginous, but the common name are palm weevils, Asian palm weevil, and Indian palm weevil, as it is originated from India and from the Middle East. Its origin is from tropical and humid south of Southeast Asia, but as shown here in this map, it is distributed to Europe and to the Mediterranean countries, and it infects the trees there and become a very important pest, which affect the economic very much. Okay, going back to this slide, how red palm weevils attack the date palms or any palms, any trees. Actually, they are attracted to two ways, two different types of odors. The first odor is the volatile emanating from the unhealthy or damaged palm trees. So if there is an unhealthy or a damage or a lesion in a tree, it produces an odor that is detected by the red palm weevil, and they are attracted to that trees and start their life cycle. The second odor that they are attracted to is the aggregation pheromone, which actually produced by the male weevils, and it attracted both male and female of the same species to attack that palm trees, which is suitable, as it said, come in, there is a suitable source of food here and you can join me. So these weevils are aggregate on that palm trees and start their life cycle. Okay, as we see in this map, it is actually or mostly worldwide distributed, it's reached also America. So why it is widely distributed? What are the reasons behind that? We know now that world is becoming a village. Not during COVID-19 actually, but before COVID-19, we were like a village. Everybody are allowed to travel, and they are exporting this and importing this pest. Also exporting and importing infected palm trees is the main source, one of the main sources for distributing this pest. And the third reason is the high ability of this weevil to fly for a long distance. They can reach 7 kilometers in 3 to 5 days. So they are good flyers, and they can move from one region to another easily. As we know that red palm weevils, they belong to Coleoptera. And as entomologists, we know that Coleoptera has a holometabolous life cycle. That means the life cycle begins with an egg. The female deposits the eggs. Eggs hatch to larvae. There are different larval stages or instars depending on the species of the insect. Then the larvae pupate. So the next stage is the pupae, and finally it gives the adult, and it repeats the life cycle. This is in the simplest way. Why I studied the red palm weevil? As I said before, it has a very economic importance, especially for the countries that produce and export dates and coconuts, because it's actually, as adult and larvae are feeding on the fibrous tissue in the trunk of the palm, they destroy this palm. Actually, from the outside, it's look like the palm, it is normally not infected. However, from inside, they are eating and feeding on the fibrous tissue in the palm. So suddenly, without any symptoms sometimes, or very little symptoms for only experienced people, they can find these symptoms. But non-experienced people, they cannot find any outside. It's normally, however, suddenly it's dead. And of course, it affects the production of the date and coconut. And as we know that in Saudi Arabia or in the Gulf region, we are the main exporters of date. Saudi Arabia, in the third country around the world that export dates. So it has a very economic importance. It affects the industry of dates in Saudi Arabia, and millions of dollars are wasted because of wasting the products, or because of trying to find controlling strategies to save these palms trees. Here is the taxonomic importance. As I said, it is related to Coleoptera order, family Coryclonidae, genus Rhynchophorus, and species Rhynchophorus phylogeneus. How we can identify this pest? Actually, there are two methods of identification. The classical method, which I based on morphological characters and morphometric characters, and this method needs an expert entomologist, so he can identify this insect to the species level. And this is very difficult because a little expert entomologists are present around the world. And the second reason, because the specialist entomologist can only identify the adult stage. However, larval stage cannot be identified. There is no keys that identify most of larval species because they are almost identical. The second and modern advanced techniques used for identifying insects in general and red palm weevil in specific are the molecular techniques, especially that based on the DNA. And these techniques are easy and very accurate, and they don't need a specialist to identify insects of different groups, and they can be applied on insect in different larval, different life stage. Larvae could be identified, pupa, eggs, or any adult stages. Sorry, any other stages. So the aim of the present study is to molecularly identify Rhynchophorus ferruginous collected from Riyadh, Al-Kharj, and Al-Qasim in Saudi Arabia, collected from different regions in order to see, because actually Rhynchophorus genus, there is two species of this genus, which is Rhynchophorus ferruginous and Vulneratus. So I'm wondering that the spreading red palm weevil in Saudi Arabia is of one species or if of two species. And that may help in putting controlling strategies, programming programs, especially that depend on the genetic control programs. And the molecular identification was done based on the direct sequencing of partial sequence of mitochondrial cytochrome oxidase gene, cytochrome oxidase 1. And then I did a phylogenetic analysis for the obtained nucleotide based on maximum likelihood method. We collect samples from the three cities I mentioned before, Riyadh, Al-Kharj, and Al-Qasim, because these are of the most important cities for producing dates in Saudi Arabia. Then we collect adults and larvae, both stages, and we preserve the collected specimens in 90% ethanol. In the lab, we extract the DNA, we go forward directly for the molecular analysis. We extract the DNA using specific kits and measuring the DNA quality and purity using a spectrophotometer, nanodrop spectrophotometer. We amplify the region of the cytochrome oxidase 1 using polymerase chain reaction, PCR. Then we make sure that we have the good product or the product we are looking for by agarose gel, by running the PCR product on agarose gel electrophoresis. And finally, we sequence the PCR products and we analyze data. Data analysis, when we obtain the sequences from the sequencing unit here in the central lab in King Saud University, we blast these sequences in the blast tool. We use the blast tool, and we identified these sequences, and it was identified using the blast tool. Then we did the phylogeny to know the taxonomic status of the obtained sequences using maximum likelihood methods. Results. Actually, our results, this is the PCR products. And as you see, in the first lane, we have the marker. Lane 1, 2, and 3, these are the specimens collected from Riyadh. 4 and 5 from Al-Kharj, and 6 and 7 from Al-Qasim. These are randomly selected specimens after amplification with PCR. This is the product of PCR. It was about 700 base pair. And as shown in this PCR, the gel electrophoresis, that all of them has the same molecular weight. After sequencing, we did the alignment. And as you see in this figure, that when we align these specimens we get from here, collected from different regions, with a reference, this is our reference. The first row is the reference which we obtained from the gene bank of the same species, Rhynchophorus ferruginous. We find that all specimens collected from various regions are of the same species. So all specimens are of Rhynchophorus ferruginous species. And it is our specimens were 100% identical to each other, and they were 99 to 100% identical to the reference sequence present in the gene bank, which is the same red palm weevil species, but in another place in the world. This is from China. When we did the phylogenetic tree, the phylogenetic analysis based on maximum likelihood method, we put our specimens with two sequences obtained from the gene bank, and the same species, and we used Dermistus maculatus as an outgroup. And it's clear from the phylogenetic tree that our specimens fall in the same clade, and they are genetically close to each other. So they are of the same species, which is Rhynchophorus ferruginous. As a conclusion and recommendation, all collected red palm weevil from different localities in the kingdom were of the same species. And as I said before, that by this result, we can put controlling strategies targeting this species. And the same species, it is genetically similar to the present database in the gene bank in other countries around the world. These results, as I said, can help in putting strategies for controlling and management this red palm weevil in Saudi Arabia or around the world. Additional studies are recommended to study other red palm weevil in other localities in Saudi Arabia, because as I mentioned before, it is distributed in everywhere in Saudi Arabia, in different cities, not only in the mentioned 3 cities under the studies. And furthermore, such findings may helpful in putting a protocol that control the expiration, exporting and importing palm trees through air and seaports. In the end, I would like to acknowledge and thank my university, King Saud University, especially zoology department, because they give me the opportunity to work in their labs. I would like also again to thank the organizer of the conference. And finally, I would like to thank the technician in the lab who worked with me, Mrs. Afia Farouk. And thank you for your listening. And I'm welcoming any questions from the doctors and professors with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doctor. First of all, I want to convey that this is a very, very impressive work, and I hope it will expand to study the specimens of the other cities in Saudi Arabia and all over the world, because this is worldwide pest of the of palm, dead palm, and I hope you to succeed in completing your mission, inshallah, to cover the other cities of Saudi Arabia. Now we have 2 questions from Dr. Asma Haggag. One of them is about the sequence. This sequence can be applied only for fresh specimens. What about pinned specimens? Okay,
Yes.
this is the first question. The second question is phylogenetic analysis a computerized program, and what is the most recent program used? And for where we can original copy of this program and trained on it.
Fine.
Yeah.
The first question, first of all, thank you for.
Dr. Asma is one of my colleagues in Cairo University, and she is a very distinctive taxonomist, and so she is very interesting in your work.
Thank you so much for your questions, doctors. About the sequencing, if it is applicable for sequencing specimens, not only alive or preserved, as I mentioned, we didn't use alive specimens. Actually, we preserved the specimens in 90% ethanol. And also, pen preserved specimens, or even specimens that are preserved in slides, they can be used. There are specific techniques that can take the mountain of the slides, and we can reuse extract the DNA and sequence easily. It's so easily. And even the pen preserved specimens can be used for extracting DNA, especially if they are preserved in environment, a good environment. They are not destroyed. The DNA is in a good quality. So yes, it's applicable to not only using, it's best, it's the best way to preserve is to use ethanol from 70% to absolute ethanol. It's better to keep the DNA in its good quantity and quality. But she can try it, the pen preserved, sometimes it works. About the computer programs, unfortunately, it is not, you cannot download it freely. You have to pay, they are very expensive, these programs, DNA Star program, but you can make the phylogenetic tree. It's applicable there in the gene bank. If you go in the gene bank, in the PubMed, sorry, in the PubMed NCBI website, you can use many tools that are available free. If you entered your sequences and you can align them, you can place them, you can build your phylogenetic tree according to different methods. You will neighbor joining methods or maximum likelihood method. It depends on what the method that help your aims. But to download these programs, they are not available freely downloading, only for trials. Then you have to buy, and they are very expensive. Actually, they are presenting in the institutions. They provide the colleagues and persons only have a password to enter these programs.
Thank you, Doctor, for your interesting and exciting presentation, and I hope you all good. Now we are going to the another speaker. Thank you for you, and I hope you all good, inshallah.
I believe Dr. Sufyan, Professor Sufyan with us now. Right?
Yeah, okay.
So Professor Sufyan, would you please, can you hear us? To make sure, just before we introduce him.
Dr. Sufyan, are you hearing us? Excuse me,
No.
unmute your...
No, he is not here anymore. He went out. Oh yeah, he is back. He is back, so.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he can hear us now.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very
Welcome
good.
back, doctor. Welcome back.
Okay, go ahead.
Dr. Sufyan, excuse me, let me introduce to the attendees, introduce yourself to attendees, and in some minutes. Okay.
Yep.
Now we have Professor Sufyan obtained his B Tech Electronics degree from the Ali Jareh Muslim University in India, 1992, with the first rank. He obtained his MTech, Master Tech, Microelectronics degree from IIT Kanpur, India, 1994. Thereafter, he joined the Department of Electronics Engineering, Al Jareh Muslim University, India, as a member of the faculty. He has been a lecturer, a senior lecturer, and then a reader in the Department of the Computer Engineering at the same university. While on study leave from here, he obtained his PhD degree in the area of computer technology from IIT Delhi in India, 2004. He also visited the University of California at Berkeley as a BT fellow from November 1905 to Oxford 1906. He served as a professor at the Department of Computer Engineering at Jamia Millia Islamia, a Central University, New Delhi from March to Jan, from March 2007 to Jan 2014. Over there, he also served as a head of the Department of Computer Engineering from February 2008 to February 2011. Currently, he is a professor at the Department of Computer Engineering at the same university. He is also serving as the principal of ZH College of Engineering and Technology since August 15. Professor Peck has published a book, 28 book chapters and over 165 research papers on a wide range of topics in the web mining and soft computing. He has also been an invited lecturer at many places in USA, UK, KSA, Pakistan, and India. Professor Pegg was awarded the University Gold Medal for standing first at BSc Engineering examinations, all branches combined. He has also bagged twice the Best Paper Awards and the Highly Quality Presentation Awards. Each Professor Pegg has served as a reviewer and has been on the board of many journals and conferences of repute. His current research interests are in the areas of parallel and distributed processing, soft computing, question answering systems, natural language processing, web mining, and searching. Thank you. And now, Doctor, I will stop my presentation and you will share your presentation. Now, the mic with you.
Thank you very much, Professor Aladdin, for the generous introduction. Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to talk about precisiating natural language for a question answering system. I'll explain each and every word that I've encountered here. As Professor Aladdin has already told you, I'm currently a professor in the Department of Computer Engineering at the Aligarh Muslim University, which is one of the oldest universities in India. We started in 1875 and we became a full university in 1920. So we are completing 100 years of the existence of this university this particular year. So when I say precisiating natural language, the idea is that the natural language is imprecise by its very nature. Since natural language comes from the human beings, we tend to use perceptive words. We use the words like about, approximately, like that. These are the words which are just not able to be computed by the computer. If I tell a computer, take a few steps and then loop back, the computer will miserably fail. The computer will ask, what do you mean by a few? Tell me 4 steps, 5 steps, 6 steps. So on one end, the computer that deals in numbers, whereas as human beings, we deal in words. For example, I can say that today is a hot day. Now the computer cannot understand what this hot means unless and until I specify that it is 40 degrees Celsius, it is 42 degrees Celsius, it is 45 degrees Celsius. The computer may not understand me and may not be able to compute what I'm saying. So precisiating natural language is making the natural language precise. So that is the idea. So let me begin with the outline. The very conceptual structure of precisiated natural language is described. The PNL's role is outlined and illustrated by examples in 3 domains. One domain is knowledge representation, the other domain is deduction, and the third domain is concept definition. All these 3 domains are very important. All these 3 domains come to us as the human beings in a natural way. But in order to have this capability imbibed in a computer, we need to do something extra, and PNL, precisiated natural language, will come to our rescue for knowledge representation, for deduction purposes, for concept definition purposes. It should be specified in the very beginning that PNL is in its initial stages of development. The exposition which follows is an outline of the basic ideas which underlie PNL, and it is not a definitive theory yet, but people are working on it. So this is a very upcoming and a very, a very promising area. Natural language is imprecise in nature, as I have emphasized just now. A natural language is basically a system for describing perceptions, the human perceptions. For example, perception of distance. I can say that it is very far, it is very near, Now very far, very near, what does that mean? How many kilometers, how many miles? As human beings, we deal in perceptions. Height, we'll say Mr. X is tall. What do I mean by that? By tall, do I mean 6 feet? Do I mean 6 feet 5 inches? Do I mean 7 feet? So I just say tall or short or medium height. Similarly, weight, I say somebody is obese. So what does that mean? What exactly is the weight in kgs? Color, again, I can talk about color. It is fair, it is dark. Complexion I can talk about. Temperature, as I gave the example, hot, cold, cool, similarity, it is very similar, it is dissimilar. Likelihood, it is very likely, it is unlikely, it is quite likely, all those different shades that we use as human beings. Relevance, That also is very important. It is quite relevant. It is very relevant. It is irrelevant. It is mostly relevant. You know, all those different shades. So likewise, most other attributes of physical and mental objects are intrinsically imprecise. They are imprecise by its very nature, by its very design. In this perspective, the imprecision of natural languages is a direct consequence of the imprecision of perceptions, because the natural language is basically the expression of our perception. So obviously, when the perception is imprecise, the natural language is got to be imprecise as well. So precisiation of natural language. How can a natural language be made precise? By precisiation, I mean, how can it be made precise? Precisiated in the sense of making it possible to treat propositions drawn from a natural language as objects of computation. How can I make it computable? If I say Mr. X is tall and Mr. Y is short, and I tell you to find out the average height of Mr. X and Mr. Y, you will say it cannot be done, because you haven't specified what do you mean by tall, what do you mean by short. So precisiation of natural language will try to rescue us out of this dilemma. This is what precisiated natural language attempts to do. It is accomplished through translation into what is termed a precisiation language. So we'll have to design a precisiation language. In case of PNL, the precisiation language is the generalized constraint language that I'll shortly talk about. So with the help of GCL, we'll try to come up with the precisiation of natural language. Okay. So GCL is a language whose elements are so-called generalized constraints and their combinations. I'll explain one by one. But let me try to elaborate that what distinguishes GCL from other languages such as Prolog, Lisp, SQL, and more generally languages associated with various logical systems, for example, predicate logic, model logic, etc., is its high expressive power. So GCL is supposed to be more expressive in nature as compared to rest of the languages that I've listed here. Existing approaches to natural language, they are based on bivalent logic. You know, a binary logic, a logic in which shading of truth is not allowed. We just say it is true or false. We do not have the concept of partially true or partially false. You know, that is why when I say that GCL is more expressive, that is because PNL abandons bivalence, and by doing so, a couple of things we gain. PNL frees itself from limitations imposed by bivalence and categoricity and opens the door to new approaches for dealing with long-standing problems in AI, artificial intelligence, and related fields. So by leaving out on binary logic, which is very, very limited, you just have zeros, ones, you just have true, false, you just have on, off. Let us also talk about the various shades which are brought up by fuzzy logic. So let me take an example to begin with. Suppose I am planning a trip. I'm planning to drive from Berkeley to Santa Barbara with a stopover for lunch in Monterey. Usually it takes about 2 hours. You see, I'm not saying 2 hours. I cannot be sure that it will take exactly 2 hours. What I'll say instead is that it will take about 2 hours to get to Monterey. Usually it takes about 1 hour to have lunch. Again, that about. It is likely, you see, this likely, that it will take about 6 hours to get from Monterey to Santa Barbara. So things are adding up. About, likely, about. At what time should I leave Berkeley to get to Santa Barbara with high probability before about 6 p.m.? Not easy to, you know, compute it. Let me try to put a simplified version. Let me say the W, which is the distance, or which is the time for driving from, you know, from Berkeley to Monterey is W. So I'll say usually W is about 2. X is the time for lunch. So I'll say about 1. And for driving from Monterey to Santa Barbara, about 6. So I'll say Y is about 6. So when I add them up and I'm starting at, you know, so what time should I start? So W plus X plus Y, that will usually be about 9. 2 plus 1 plus 6, but all these abouts put together will make it usually about 9. So I want to reach at 6 p.m. So I'll say about 18 minus Z is what? This is what I have to compute. Not easy unless I bring in the pre-associated natural language. So this is the block diagram. You know, I may come across questions like this about 18 minus Z is what? So how do I deduce the answers to such questions? So a PNL enhanced question answering system, a query is issued, query clarification if any is required. There is some pre-processing which is done, in which I'll talk about part of speech tagging plus simplified natural language rendering will take place. I may make use of some corpus, and this goes to IE module, wherein I'll talk about the pre-associated natural language protoforms plus other fact typing. And this will require background knowledge and domain knowledge. So I'll make use of this. And after this, the query goes into the deduction module. I said deduction is one of the important, you know, modules in pre-associated natural language. So this deduction module will again take help of the domain knowledge, protoformal that I've done here, plus phrase-based deduction, and I may be using some search engine. So I'll do the response formulation out of this deduction module, which will be presented as the answer to the user. So this is the, you know, the overall block diagram of a PNL enhanced question answering system. So now let me go on to the bivalent constraint, which says X belongs to C. This is hard, inelastic, categorical. It says either belongs or doesn't belong. Mr. X is short or is not short, you know. So it just goes by bivalent logic. It doesn't say that Mr. X belongs to the set of short people to a certain degree. So in that sense, this is hard and inelastic and categorical. A generalized constraint instead would look something like this. X is small r, capital R, where X is the constraint variable. R, capital R, is the constraining non-bivalent fuzzy relation. And this small r is the index of modality, which will assume several forms. It will encompass this hard inelastic bivalent constraint also. It may have equality constraint, inequality constraint, subsethood. It may even be blank, or it can be primary, it could be veristic, it could be usual, it could be rough set, it could be fuzzy graph, and so on. So it may have so many different values. So let me explain each of these terms. Just remember, this is the basic form that I'm going to focus upon. X is RR. So I'll have to talk about this X, this small r, and this capital R. So X is an n-ary variable. It may be an n-ary variable itself. X may be a proposition. Leslie is tall. X may be a function of another variable. I'll take all those examples. X may be conditioned on another variable, X given Y. X may have a structure. For example, X may be location of residence of Carol. X may be a generalized constraint. X itself may be Y is RR. X may be a group variable. In this case, there is a group, name 1, name 2, so on, name n, with each members of the group associated with an attribute value. So in that sense, it is different from this n-ary variable, where n-ary variable will just have the members. It will also have attributes associated with each of those members. So attribute hi may be vector value. So symbolically, this may be UAHI name 1, UAHN name n, and so on. So basically, GH is a relation and GH is A is a fuzzy restriction of GH. For example, tall sweet. So I'll say sweets whose height is tall. So that way, this is the member and this is the attribute. Now coming to R, small r. As I said, it may be equality constraint, it may be inequality, subsethood, possibilistic constraint. R is the possibility distribution of X, veristic constraint. and probabilistic constraint. So that will encompass probability also. Then standard constraints, bivalent, possibilistic, bivalent, veristic, and probabilistic. So all those different flavors it may assume. It may also be bimodal constraint, it may be random set constraint, it may be fuzzy graph constraint, it may be usuality constraint, it may be group constraint. Possibilistic, X is R, probabilistic, X is probably R. Veristic may be an example. Primary constraints are formalization of three basic perceptions: perception of possibility, perception of likelihood, and perception of truth. So in this perspective, probability may be viewed as an attribute of perception of likelihood. So for example, possibilistic example could be given: Monica is young. So what do I mean by this? I mean age of Monica is young. I'm talking about the age of Monica. When I say Monica is much younger than Maria, so I mean to say that age of Monica, age of Maria is much younger. So this R would be, capital R would be young, much would be small r, and X will be this entire structure. Most Swedes are tall. How do I represent it? I'll say the summation of the count of the height of Swedes divided by the number of Swedes is most. So which means the average height of the Swedes is, tall Swedes is most. X may be a normally distributed random variable with mean m and variance sigma square, the normal distribution that we all know of, bell-shaped function. X may be a random variable taking the values u1, u2, u3 with probabilities p1, p2, and p3. For example, probability p1 and the event u1, probability p2 for the event u2, and so on. Veristic. What do I mean by veristic? If I have the information that Robert is half German, quarter French, and quarter Italian, so I can say that ethnicity of Robert is veristic, with German being 0.5 and French being 0.25 and Italian being 0.25. When I say Robert resided in London from 1985 to 1990, so you can now start sensing that this is the natural language and this is how I'm going to express it in GCL. So natural language, Robert resided in London from 1985 to 1990. How do I do that? I'll come to it shortly. So I'll say reside, Robert, London is veristic, 1985, 1990. So now, coming to the promised procedure of pre-association. When the pre-association process begins, the first step is that I have to begin with simplified natural language. What do I mean by simplified natural language? It doesn't contain compound sentences. Compound sentences are those which have more than one verb. So I'll break all such compound sentences into simple sentences, where a simple sentence will just have a single verb. It may have possibly an object if it is a transitive verb, and it may have a subject. Object is optional for non-transitive verbs. In some very rare cases, even the subject may be missing. For example, in English language, if I say go, go is a complete sentence in English language. It just contains verb. It doesn't contain object. It contains an implicit subject. When I say go, I mean you go. So you is implied, it's implicit. So simple compound sentences, two or more SNL joined by, usually in the compound sentence, what is happening is the simplified state natural language, the simplified sentences containing one verb are joined by and, or, but, however, so, while, yet. So we just drop them, replace them by full stops, and then we say that we have converted it into simplified natural language. For example, I can say that go to the college and bring the book. So this is a compound sentence. So it will be broken up by saying go to the college, full stop, bring back the book. So now it contains two simple sentences. So the first step will be to break it up into simple natural language. After that, we'll look into that simplified natural language for these 5 different protoforms. What are these protoforms? I'll come to them. X is A, Y is X plus B, QAs are Bs, Q1 into Q2 A's are B's, and C is Fx is A. I'll take the example of each of them and I'll show you how it can be done. But before that, I'll have to do the part of speech tagging. For that, we can make use of a standard part of a speech tagger, like the one coming from Stanford. It takes a sentence or a file and tags according to Penn Tree Bank tag set, wherein we have 36 different part of speeches tag set and 12 other tags for punctuation and special symbols. For example, if I give the input to this Stanford tagger, airway is ideal for the home or a small office. A simple sentence, I input it to the Stanford tagger. So it will break it up and it will tag each word. Airway, it will say it is a proper noun. Is, it will say it is a verb. So this tag set will tell me what part of a speech it is. Ideal, it is say noun. Again, it is saying proper noun because I have given this I in capital. Had I given this I in small, it would have given it as a common noun. For, it says it is an injunction. Determiner, this is the common noun. Or again, conjunction, small, adjective. Office, noun. So each and every word is given a part of a speech tag. So these are the explanations for these. NNP is proper noun, VBZ is verb, third form of the verb. In is preposition, DT is determiner, noun, coordinating conjunction, adjective, and this is the sentence final punctuation. So likewise, it has 36 different part of speech tag sets and 12 other tags possible in Stanford tagger. So after I have done the part of a speech tagging, I'll make use of a class, sentence phrase class. It will return the integer field for -1 for error when there is no verb at all in a sentence. For example, I say that good book. It is not a sentence because it doesn't have any verb at all. It is not a sentence. It doesn't have any verb. So in such cases, it will return an error value of -1. If that is not the case, it will return 3 string fields for subject, verb, and object. Since it is a simple sentence, so these 3 parts will be returned. How do I do that? I'll make use of a method extract phrase. String, I'll give a tagged string to it. This extracts the subject phrase, verb phrase, and the object phrase from a given simple sentence, which has already been tagged in accordance with the Penn Tree Bank tag set. For example, the verb phrase, I'll try to get between the first and the last occurrence of VB. It should also include the modals like will, shall, would, could, etc. Whatever is before that is subject phrase. Whatever is after this is the object phrase. For example, airway allows linking number of telephones. I have tagged it. So in this method extract phrase, it will try to identify where all this VB figures. So it finds that VB is in these 2 words. So it will say that verb phrase contains allows linking. Whatever is there before that is the subject phrase. Whatever is there after this is the object phrase. So this is how I can do the object, subject, and verb extraction from a given simple sentence. Now the next would be to identify the is forms. So is form will accept the tagged string. It will check if the given tag sentence is a simple X is A form. It checks for all the variations of is, covering all modalities and tenses of the to be verb. The verb phrase should be entirely equal to any of the following forms of is. We know is can be represented in several forms. Is, was, are, were. They're all variations of is. That is why I'm saying the generic to be verb that I'm including. So let me give you the exhaustive list of the different variations of is. As I said, is, was, were, are, am, shall be, will be, should be, would be, can be, could be, all different variations of is. Go on, must partially be, must possibly be, must mostly be. must likely be, so on, ought, often to be, you know, this way I can go on and give so many different, it may be further, you know, given, further expanded. I've tried to give quite a few of these different forms of is, which is the generic form of to be. Now, take the example, the cost of calls to Spain will be about 40 pence per minute. I do the part of speech tagging. So part of speech tagger returns me with this. Over here, I try to identify where is verb. Verb is here along with the modals, if you remember. So will be is the verb phrase. Whatever is there before that, will be is the verb phrase. Whatever the cost of calls to Spain will be the subject, and whatever is after this, that is about 40 pence per minute, will be the object phrase. So I can say that it can be represented in X is a form. I'll put it like this: the cost of calls to Spain is X. I'll replace this will be by is, the standard is, and I'll say that this is capital R, about 40 pence per minute. So now if the question comes, what is the cost of calls to Spain? I can start answering. I can say the cost of calls to Spain is about 40 pence per minute. So because I have X is A, if somebody asks what is X, I'll say X is A. That will be the answer. AOA allows linking a number of telephones. I do the part of speech tagging. Part of speech tagging identifies the verb phrase, allows linking, which is not equivalent to one of these forms that I've listed. So it will say that this is not an X is A form. So this will be treated as a fact, and you know, keyword match may be done for the question answering. So I've given both the examples, one valid X is A form, the other one has invalid X is A form. Now come to the second type of protoform, which is a variation of X is A form. Y is X plus B form. What is the application? Suppose I have two propositions. Now the deduction would start. I promised in the beginning that I'll be able to deduce the answers. You know, if you remember, knowledge representation and then deduction was one of the forte that I wanted to take up. So P1, suppose the cost of calls to Spain is about 40 pence per minute. P2 says the cost of calls to Germany is a little more than the cost of calls to Spain. And the questions comes, what is the cost of calls to Germany? So I should have this form in place. So I'll say the cost of calls to Germany is the cost of calls to Spain plus a little more. So if I know the cost of calls to Spain is 40 pence per minute, so I'll add a little more to it. So I can at least give a guess that it may be around 40 pence per minute, 47 pence per minute, or something like that. So Y is X plus B form is handy in such cases, in answering such cases. Now, how do I do that? For that, I'll have to make use of a match phrase class. It is having a float field for the similarity value between two given phrases, two string fields for the match phrase, and the extra part in the larger of the two phrases. For the X's and A's of every X is A, I'll use compute similarity method. And let me give you an example. The exact match will return 1. Exact match regardless of upper or lower case will return 0.95. Matches only near the beginning of the phrase will be 0.85. Only near the end will be 0.8. Exact match of stemmed values. By stemming, I mean the word must be reduced to its stem. For example, borrow, borrower, borrowed. These are all different words if you do the string matching. But if you do the stemming, then everything will be reduced to its stem word borrow. So if such a thing happens, then I'll return 0.65. Matches of stem values near the beginning 0.55, near the end 0.5. For that matter, we have the standard Porter stemmer algorithm to carry out stemming, and this stemming includes stop words removal too. All such words which do not have much semantic content, like the articles the, a, and, for, they're not very important when it comes to the semantics of a language. Synonym matches. Suppose I say the cost of calls to Spain, and then I say the price of calls to Spain. So cost and price, they do not match if you do the string matching, but synonym matching will be returned as 0.5. For that, I can make use of WordNet. Matches of just a few words will be 0.4, and if there is no such similarity existing, then I'll return a 0 similarity. So similarly, I can have Q, A's or B's form. Look in A, not in B for any of the following. This Q stands for quantity. Some, somewhat, few, none, many, almost, little bit, about, most, all, a lot, numbers, words and digits. We do not see for it in B because then it will be more like the X's RA form rather than QA's or B's form. Also look in A for any numbers in either digits or words or a combination of both. Numbers in words could be 1, 2, 3, 4, like 10, then 11, 12, up till 20, and then after that 30, because 21 will be a combination, 30, 40, so on, 90, and then I go to 100, 1,000, million, billion, hundreds, thousands, millions, billions, trillions, and I can go on adding to this list. Let me come to an example. Here, most sweets are tall. So the output should be Q is most, A are sweets, and B are tall. So if I give another input, a total of 4.3 billion, 1,200,000, 44 humans is the population of that country. Just, you know, for the heck of an example, I've taken up this example. So Q will be, quantity will be 4.3 billion, 1,200,000, 44. A total of humans, that will be A, and B will be the population of that country. A variant of it will be Q1 into Q2, A's or B's and C's form. Let me take an example first. Most balls are large, one proposition. Many large balls are heavy. So I can combine both of them. Q1 A's are B's, Q2 A and B's are C's. So I can say that Q1 into Q2 A's are B and C's. So similarly, if somebody asks me after giving this example as a question, how many balls are large and heavy? So the answer would be most into many balls are large and heavy. So if I have the membership function for most in fuzzy logic, I have the membership function of many in fuzzy logic, I can do the fuzzy multiplication and I can come out with the answer that how many balls are large and heavy. So you can pretty much sense that I've started doing the deduction. So again, for the AJ and AK of every QAs and Bs, we'll do the match phrase, compute similarity method. I'll return what all is matching, and based on that, I'll find out what is Q1, what is Q2, and what is remaining. The fifth form, fx is A. So this is the fifth form. Again, let me give you an example. His son is quick. What do I mean by that? I'm not defining his son. What I'm doing instead is that I'm defining the speed of his son. So if I do the part of speech tagging, it will give me his son is quick. Subject phrase, verb phrase. So if I go by X is A form, it will simply say X is A, but that is not correct. This is not the definition of his son. This is the definition of his speed. So what output should I get instead is the speed of his son is quick. So how do I sense such a structure in a protoform? For that, I'll have to come to the concept of a value. If I'm using crawl, fast, quick, rapid, I'm talking about speed. If I'm talking about newborn, newly born, middle-aged, adolescent, mature, I'm talking about age. Cheap, fairly expensive, fee, moderate, I'm talking about cost. Similarly, dimension, angstrom, micron, so on, weight, size, temperature, shade, volume of sound, scent. These are all the concepts that I can sense using the words that have been used. Texture, feeling smooth, rough, health, sick, healthy, ill, so on. Appearance, beautiful, ugly. So that is talking, if I say that such and such is beautiful. So what I'm talking about, the appearance of such and such is beautiful. And this list may be added, may go on. These are just the examples that I've given. So for every X is A, I'll try to contain any of the listed values. F may be the concept corresponding to that value. However, exclude those cases where the concept value is followed by a noun. For example, if I say airway is small, I'm not talking about the size of airway. You know? So this may be an undesirable output in such a case. Now, further elaboration, I'm adding this R to it. It's probably, usually, partially, possibly, mostly, likely, you know. For Y is R, X plus B, look for any of the above in Y, X, B, and is form. For Fx is RA, look for any of the above in X, A, and is form. The heart of airway network is possibly the controller. Part of speech tagging has been done. Subject phrase is the heart of airway network. Verb phrase is. Object phrase is possibly the controller. So it will not be listed as X is A form. The heart of airway network is the controller, with this possibly being the small r. So this will become as X is RA form now, because this word possibly has been identified there. Similarly, the cost of cost to Germany will be probably a little more than the cost of cost to Spain. So we have seen earlier that this is Y is X plus B form. This R will be added because this probably word has come there. So after part of speech tagging, after identifying the verb phrase, subject phrase, and the object phrase, I can sense that I'm talking about the cost of cost to Germany as Y, the cost of cost to Spain as X, a little more than as B, and this small r is probably with a similarity value of 0.7, because there is some variation in both of them. His son will probably be quick. So identifying the subject, verb, and object phrase from the tagged word, I'll say that X, his son, will probably be his verb, which is one of the variants of is, and object is quick. So this is capital R, probably will be small r, and since I'm talking about quick, so I'll say that I'm talking about speed of his son from one of the Fx is A form. So I'll do the summation in the end. PNL is a concept which plays a pivotal role in PNL. Is that of a protoform. The 5 protoforms that I've seen: X is A form, Y is X plus B, Q A's are B's, then Q1 into Q2 A's are B's and C's, and then Fx is A. So one of those 5 protoforms, a concept which touches upon 2 fundamental facets of human cognition: the ability to summarize and the ability to abstract. So that is what we have done in the previous slides. The concept of a protoform serves 3 basic functions. One is the knowledge, organization of knowledge, the other one is deduction, and the third one is definition. So all 3 I've done. I've organized the knowledge, I've done the deduction, and I have carried out the job of definition as well. By providing a system for classification of natural languages, PNL opens the door to a wide-ranging enlargement of the role of natural languages in scientific theories, especially those theories in which human judgment, perceptions, and emotions play very important roles, because it may vary from person to person. It might appear, you know, beautiful to person X, but it may not be that beautiful to person Y. So it varies from person to person. So this was the summation of my talk. Thank you very much. I'll try to take the questions if there are any. Over to you, Dr. Alauddin.
Thank you very much, Doctor. And now, if we have any question.
I can see a few questions in the comment statement.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Doctor, we have a minute for question.
Yeah. Question 1 that I can see in the chat box is from Hikmat Kambaraj. How transferable are the forms regarding the sentence structure in other languages, such as German? Actually, I've done it for English language, so I do not really know German, so I cannot comment on it. But I'm pretty sure that there is a verb in every language, there is a subject in every language, there is an object in every language. The person of that language has to figure out how to extract verbs, how to extract the subject, how to abstract the object. If you do that, the rest of the things may be done by my software, in which I can do one of those 5 protoforms, and then that will become deductible, that will be answerable for the question that you pose. So hope I've satisfied Hikmat Kambraj. Moving on to the next question from Dr. Sheikh. It says, thank you, Professor Baig, for very interesting presentation. I would like to ask a couple of questions. Have you done proof of concept of your idea? If yes, what about the accuracy? We did it as a part of a British telecom project when I was working at the University of California at Berkeley. So I would say that we could identify those 5 protoforms in 40% of the cases. For the remaining 60%, we were treating all the sentences as the facts. And whenever I'm treating it as a fact, a conventional question answering system, a keyword-based question answering system can be used to, create answers for them. For example, let me give you, suppose somebody says the distance between New York City and Albany is X miles. The question comes, what is the distance between New York City and Albany? The answer is simple. It is X miles. But what about the proposition that says that the largest city in New York State is New York City, and the distance between the largest city and Albany is this much? And the question comes, what is the distance between the largest city of New York and Albany? So I'll have to do deduction. First, I'll have to deduce the largest city of New York State is New York City. Then I'll see that New York City is X miles away from Albany. So then I can do the deduction. There could be a 2-level deduction in which I can say the capital city of New York is Albany. Now the question comes, what is the distance between the largest city of New York and the capital of Albany? So I'll have to find out what is largest city, what is capital, and then what is the distance, and then I'll have to deduce the answer. So that is, that is how we have done the proof of concept of our idea. Question number 2 from the same Dr. Sheikh. How do you manage the semantic of words? For example, some words are same pronunciation but different meanings, such as mouse. One is computer mouse and one is real mouse. That's a very good question. In fact, if you see, I have resorted to context. When I say his son is quick, I'm talking about the context. What do I mean by quick? So I say that the speed of his son is quick. Similarly, if in the vicinity I have the word computer, I'll say computer mouse. And if in the vicinity I have some other articles like, a piece of bread, or I'm talking about a floor, I'm talking about a cat, then I'll say that this is a real mouse. So things have to be context sensitive, and for context sensitivity, FX is a very good rescue. So, okay. So I've got the acknowledgement from Hikmat. He says, thank you very much. So he's satisfied. Dr. Sheikh, if there is any further clarification, I'll be happy to. Okay, so he got it. He says, thank you, I understood. Are there any more questions, please? Yes. I'm sorry for giving a hurried presentation because I had started late, but I didn't want to finish late, so I had to go through the speedy presentation. If there are further any, clarification that you want to seek, you can always email me, you can WhatsApp me, you can call me. I'm available. Do search my name on the net and you'll be able to Google it and you can get the my email and contact details. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. And all good best for you, inshallah. And we now we have Professor Kalaji with us. We are glad to meet such very distinguished professors like you. Thank you again. And now we are with Dr. Kalaji.
Yeah.
Doctor, you stop sharing?
Yeah, I've stopped sharing. I've stopped
okay,
sharing.
Thank you. Dr. Hazim, Professor Kalaji.
Please unmute him so that I can speak.
Yeah. Dr. Rabia, please unmute Dr. Kalaji. Dr. Rabia. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Professor Kalaji, now the mic with us. We have introduced you to the attendees, and we are very glad to with you. Welcome back. And now it is our pleasure to have your speech. The mic with you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank you for the kind invitation. I would like to thank all our colleagues for the very interesting presentations. Frankly, I couldn't follow up all of them because I had some technical problems, but I hope that from now on, everything will be okay. So I'll try to be short because I found that, which is for me something new. Usually when I'm plant physiologist, so I have background related with biology and plant physiology. And just in the last few years, I started to develop my work to go with the computers, electronics, and informatics. And I'm very happy that I have here a very high professionalist who I believe they will help me to solve my, let's say, problems or develop my thoughts and ideas. And this is a type of invitations for all of you to share my further research, which I am doing on the plants. And as you can see here from the title, I will start to share my screen. How to do it? Okay, share screen. Okay, good. And okay. Now I think it's available, right?
Yeah, it is. Just yes. Just share a screen and maybe you select the application. Yeah.
Can you see the screen, please? Can you confirm?
Not yet.
At the base of the screen.
Okay, share the computer sound. No,
Share screen.
Optimize. Yeah, optimize share.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is coming.
Okay. And now. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah, we see it.
Very good. Okay. So as you can see, we have started to identify what is the plant stock, because we found during our researches that there is some features which could be exploited to identify the physiological status of the plants. And this is a new type of science which is could be considered under plant phenotyping and machine learning as well. What we are doing that we are trying to find some physiological or biological parameters which we can measure them non-invasively, in non-destructive way. Then on the base of collections of different physiological parameters, we can get information about the plants if it's suffering from any type of stressors or any unfavorable growth conditions. So I am a specialist in photosynthesis, and I have been working on this process for more than 30 years. In the last 15 years, I started to work on special signals coming from the chlorophyll from the plants. We call it chlorophyll fluorescence. This is what you can see here in the second title, or the second title of my presentations. So we will go through that, and then I will express my thoughts, and I will ask, as I said, for your help as a professionalist in these topics. So as a people who are working in the biology and agriculture, we are interested first of all to understand the interaction between the different atmosphere and nature components, like the trees, the grasses, the animals, the insects, and what's happening in the environments, if there is any changes in the light or the sun or the humidity or carbon dioxide or other gases as well. And the most important physiological process, not only for the plants actually, is also for the people. It's already proven that to be the photosynthesis, because it's a very important process for our existence on Earth. Just to remind you, this is a basic information. And it's very important because we are exist due to these plants, which are delivering us the oxygen, and we are in turn delivering them the carbon dioxide when we are breathing. So the energy which is captured by the sun, by the plants, and it's captured by the process of photosynthesis, then to make carbohydrates. This is our food, and then these carbohydrates are broken then by the respiration process, and the oxygen is released. The process is enclosed totally in a small compartments in the plants. We call it chloroplasts. So we have the chloroplasts where all these, let's say, biochemical and biological processes are there. I'm not going here to get in details. However, what we found that this process here, as you can see, is a part of the whole process, which is all processes which are happening in the cell. What that mean? That means if any changes will happen here in the cell somewhere, in any biochemical or metabolic pathways or reactions, this will have its input directly on photosynthesis. And not only myself and my team, but the other people as well, they proved already that this is the most sensitive process for the plants. It's, you will see later in my presentations, we found that it's almost expressing what's going on live, now in the plants inside, if you can get measurements of this process. So we call it the core or the heart of the plants, what's going on in this process. So just to go back to the photosynthesis process, it's a very complicated, as you know, and it's very simple as well, but just to remind you that the plants absorbing the light energy, absorbing the light energy, and then this light energy is converted to biochemical energy, which is used by the plants to reduce the carbon dioxide and reduce what we are eating, so our foods, the sugars and the flour, the carbohydrates. So once the plants or any photosynthesizing organisms, because it could be a mosaic, lichen, cyanobacteria, or whatever, which has chloroplasts, this absorbed energy, which we can consider it as a 100%, actually we found that it has 3 destinations. Not so many scientists in the world knows that from this sun outside now, which you can see behind your windows, that the plants can exploit or use in photosynthesis only about 10%. Then what about the other absorbed light energy? We found that most of it, it's about 85–90%, it's re-emitted as a heat, as infrared. Then, and the chlorophyll fluorescence as a signal coming as well from the plants after the absorption of the light energy. This is emitted as infrared. I'm sorry, but that one is as red. So we have heat, we have chlorophyll fluorescence, and we have photochemistry. So we have 3 components, and as you can see, the formula is closed. What that means? There is any stress, the photosynthesis ability will go down. That means the part or the share of the energy which is absorbed, which is going to photosynthesis process, will go low. And on the other side, the chlorophyll fluorescence will go up and the heat will go up. This is a closed formula, as you can see here. So once I measure the chlorophyll fluorescence and the heat dissipations, I know what's going on with the photosynthesis process. So it's another type of measuring chlorophyll or process of, let's say, photosynthetic activity of the plants, but in very fast way and non-invasive. So this is what we call it the measurements of chlorophyll fluorescence. So the relation is coming like that. Once the photosynthesis intensity will go up, the chlorophyll fluorescence intensity will go down. So why we measure it? Because if I would like to see, it's something with the people, it's very similar. The plants are behaving like the people, we know that already. So if you would like to check if somebody is ill or healthy, you should just give him a bottle of water. If he's ill or she is ill, she will take a little water and give it back. But if the healthy people, they will drink the whole water or most of that. So what we are looking for what left in the bottle, and on the base of that, and can judge the objects which I'm testing if it's healthy or not. So in this way, in very fast way, we have some type of fluorimeters, which I will explain later, which is in 1 second can tell me very important information about something which is going inside the plant. So for medicine, we have the heart of the people, we have a standard number, which is 60 to 80 bytes per minute. And we found that very simple, very similar values we found coming from this photosynthetic machinery, and the core of this machinery, we call it photosystem 2 here, it's enzyme, and it will show 083, 085. So anything wrong with the people here, these numbers here will change. The same here for the plants, which we found based on the measurements of chlorophyll fluorescence. If there is any type of stresses, these values will go down. So for the people, we are using the stethoscopes, and now we are using the fluorimeters for the plants. And for in the medicine, for the human being, we are using the electrography, and we are doing very similar curves based on chlorophyll fluorescence measurements. So just to remind you how it looks for the people, and now we have a very similar situation with the plants. Each value here, the level of these values here is expressing something which is going on in this physiological process. So chlorophyll fluorescence is actually the emission of the light energy. I will pass some things. And it's very sensitive, reliable, and non-invasive methods, and it can be used everywhere, whenever you have chlorophyll. So as we said, plants, algae, mosses, lichens, animals, if they have some, symbiosis with some photosynthesizing organisms. And it will give us information, depending on a different time scale and let's say spatial level as well. So it can give us information about what's going on in the cell, in the tissues, in the organs, and in the chloroplast or in the plants and their productivity. Okay. Just a second, I'm sorry. So actually it's some methods, as you can see here, to study the effects of any changes in the environments on the plants. Especially if there is something wrong with the environments which can break or can stop or can elevate or slow down any biochemical or biological processes. We have two types of fluorimeters. One is we can use it after dark adaptations, and the other one is the pulse modulated fluorescence measurements. And you can see that this is a very small portable instruments which we can hold it and we can go to the field and we can do our measurements in 1 second, so no problem to do any type of that measurements. And we can get in 1 second few parameters, and after that we can calculate it more than 100 parameters based on 1 second measurements, because we have induction curves. In 1 second we can get more than 120 points expressing the physiological activity of this photosynthetic machinery. And that we can be here seen that the changes are very spectral here, because you can see that depending on the type of stresses, you have a special or specific shape of this curve. Then after that, we started, when we saw that type of response of the plants, that means there is a special shape of the induction curve for a special stressors. We start to think about application of the machine learning and artificial neural networks to identify the stress. And this is actually the core of my presentations here. So just an example to show that this shape is very specific depending on the applied stress. I will pass some of them. So as you can see here, this is a very nice methods which we could apply. We can apply in 1 second, and we have, as we see here, more than 70 parameters. All of them, we can put them in the black box of the neural networks, and we can calculate whatever we wish. We can plot them, as you can see here as well, on the radar, and we can identify the stress. Is it magnesium deficiency, nitrogen, potassium, or other things? So the applications range is very wide. We can apply, just to understand the behavior or the response of the plants for different stresses in the greenhouses or in the field, for the trees, for the fruits quality, during or after the storage of the fruits as well. In the water, if we would like to know about the water pollution levels or the, let's say, the concentrations of the algae or other photosynthesizing organisms there. To check some water which we are filters which we are using them in the nursery of the forestry. For the seeds quality as well, some people, they developed a small machine which is just making a control of the quality of the seeds, if they are mature or not, for controlling the sports objects as well, quality of the grasses. And for the air pollution, that was my trip to Himalaya with a team from Bareilly College, and about the heavy metals pollution. For the quality of the paints of the boats, depending on the it's a type which is slowing the biofilm accumulations, and for precision farming and agriculture. And NASA also is watching the whole globe by chlorophyll fluorescence. This is an experiment as well to check the quality of the trees in the cities or in the big parks, like this research which we did in Brussels in Belgium, and some unusual ones which we applied in Dubai for the desalination station in Jebel Ali, where they wanted us to check if there is some algae still in the water or not. So we put online some fluorescence or fluorimeters, which is checking the signals, and what could come from only one cell as well. NASA as well is applying this type of researches from the space and in the international laboratory. And they have some probes which are looking for the life on Mars and other planets by looking for the chlorophyll fluorescence. If there is chlorophyll, there is life, there is photosynthesis, and hope for oxygen evolution. Okay, so a lot of, let's say, type of applications. Now, this is an invitation for you. Our dream, we started a few years ago to apply, to enhance the quality of these fluorimeters, to add some features to get more barometers, to combine them with other instruments. And we started to apply the basics of identification of the stress by this type of analysis. If these and these parameters will be at this or that level, that will be an indicator for water stress. If these and that parameters or the other parameters will be above or below these values, this is these type of stressors. What we aim to do by doing applying the machine learning to teach the instruments here that for the end user, it should not be any type of these parameters, physiological, biochemical, whatever. It should be only a signal here or a communication saying that the plants will say, I'm thirsty, please give me water, or there is heavy metals, I have heavy metals, I'm suffering from high temperature. So these all, let's say, specific numbers and their changes can identify a type of stressors. The second step, which we started as well a few years ago, that we started to build systems which allow the plants to control their growth environments, and we are now talking about the light intensity and quality, by themselves. Because we start to think about the plants like handicaps. It's, it's like the handicapped people who couldn't hear. Now they have a small device which they put them in their ears. They can hear everything. That's the same we start to apply with the plants, to give them the ability to talk, to hear what they are saying. Then the system by itself can allow them to control the environments. And this is the last device which I developed last year. It's a camera, which was, it's just a camera for watching the people and monitoring everywhere. But on the other side, as you can see here, the other eyes of this camera was modified to be built as a fluorimeters. And then we got these type of measurements directly on our mobile phones, as you can see here. So I can have information about the physiological status of my plants, and there is an alarm. If there is something wrong, my mobile phone will bring me and say there is something wrong with your plants. So this is the future of our work, and this is the open invitation for all of you if you would like to share our research. Thank you very much.
Dr. Kalaji?
Yes.
Thank you very much for this interesting subject and interesting studies. And also, it is amazing for me, and I think for many of our colleagues or attendees in this conference, inshallah. Thank you very much for your talk and for giving your time and sharing your experience in such a subject. And now we want to see if any of the attendees have any question. What is the technology behind that camera?
Well, the camera is, can you hear me?
Yeah, doctor.
Okay.
Yeah.
The camera is a normal camera. It's just a monitoring camera, but it has we chose just to have the double ability here. One of them is just to see physically what's going on in the greenhouses or in the field, and we adapt the other part of the camera, the other eye, they call it, in such a way that is can measure the chlorophyll fluorescence. So we put the fluorimeter inside. It's built as a camera, a standard camera, but partially with a built-in fluorimeter, which allow us to measure continuously based on sending a laser beam to provoke the excitation of the chlorophyll, and then the signal will come back to the fluorimeter and we capture it. It is the emission of the light beyond the above 680 nanometers.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Now I have a question for you.
Yes, please.
Can I ask?
Yes, please. Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to ask about the interaction of plants with insects. We have two types, in general, we have two types of mouth parts in insects. Chewing mouth parts, that means that the insect will cut or chew a small pieces of the plant, okay?
Mhm.
And the other type of mouth parts is sucking mouth parts, okay? These sucking mouth parts, the insect inserts something like their mouth parts like a needle and just suck the juice of the plant.
Yeah, the xylem, yeah. Mhm.
How the plant interact with the two types of insects.
Well, I think it's, if we are connecting your questions to what I talk about, these technologies. So once you will have the let's say the invaders there, the insects, you know, the plants is like the people. It's not like, you know, that something on the leaf that the other leaf will not know about it, or the roots. So everything is, as I show in my connection there in my presentation, that, you know, everything is very connected and it's fast, like very similar to the people. But the plants, they don't have a central nervous system, but they have a very alternative and very advanced one. More than that, they are more tolerant than the people and the animals. Why? Because the animals, they have to stand outside. If something wrong with us, if we have, like most of us now, if you feel warm, you will run the AC. If you have water or something raining, so you will put the umbrella. If the animal will have some, you know, something serious, they will go to the cave or under the shadow. The plants have to stand. What that means? They cannot go out from the soil and run away somewhere else. That means they have the most complicated and advanced mechanisms and strategies for survival. So they have a very similar, you know, let's say analogical, let's say nervous system, but it's not nervous system. It's biochemical signals, electrical signals, many of these type of signals. And they will inform, you know, the other processes to adapt their activity for these, let's say, type of stressor. Is it abiotic or abiotic stresses? It doesn't matter. So let's say some people, they believe like that, well, as we know that the high temperature for the human being, it's not illness, it's type of survival, it's type of fighting. The same with the plants. First of all, they start to degrade the chlorophyll. They are doing that. They don't want to do photosynthesis. They don't want to give the insects, you know, the food. So they stop to make photosynthesis. They slow down this process. And they then allow other mechanisms to work, for example, cutting the leaves or throwing the leaves from the plants outside with the insects. So many mechanisms. It's very complicated. It's not so easy to answer really such questions. However, the photosynthesis, it's, as I said, the most physiological sensitive process in the plants. And now the chlorophyll fluorescence, this is what I didn't mention, will tell us about what's going on in the plants before we can see it by naked eyes, at least 2 to 3 weeks. It's the same like the people. When you go to the doctor and you have something on your skin, it's too late to do anything with that. It have to be a surgery, okay? So anything with the same with the plants. When you see the yellowing or the browning or any, you know, symptoms which you can see them by the naked eyes, it's too late to do anything with the plants. Chlorophyll fluorescence will tell you about that after 2 weeks, you will see something. So this is a very nice method which can predict the stress.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Thank you, doctor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you very much, Professor Kalaji.
Thank you.
And we hope all good for you. And also we hope future cooperation, inshallah, in the forthcoming conferences and meetings, inshallah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you. Now, we have Dr. Fathi الشاعر. Dr. Fathi.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me? The voice is clear.
Assalamu alaikum, Doctor. We are not hearing you.
Just a second.
No. No
No?
voice. No voice.
I'm here.
You can talk from the voice or the mic of the
No,
computer.
we can hear him.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum
Wa
salam.
alaikum salam. Now it is good.
Yeah.
Okay, just a second. I will share my presentation now. You can see my presentation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Firstly, I would like to thank the organizing committee for inviting me to attend this important event and giving me. Yes, you can hear me.
Excuse me. I will make a bit of introduction to you.
Doctor.
Okay. Then let you talk. Dr. Fathi الشاعر is one of our colleagues in the University of Al-Azhar University at Egypt, and also now he's currently working in the Al-Jof University at KSA. He is his specialization is comparative anatomy of animals, and now he will talk about two types of birds in a comparison to their tongues. Now the mic with you, Dr. Shah.
Thank you, Dr. Ala. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Firstly, I would like to thank the organizing committee for inviting me to attend this important event and giving me the opportunity to participate in this conference, international conference on biological, biomedical science, biotechnology, and application. Secondly, I will speak shortly about my manuscript undertitled Anatomical and Histological Study of the tongue and histological features of the lingual glands of birds with different feeding behavior. I will talk about some outline topics like introduction, objective, methodology, results, and conclusion. Introduction. Kingfisher and hoopoes composed of a small, medium-sized to bright color. Medium-sized bright colored birds belong to order Coraciformes. And also kingfisher and hoopoes are characterized by their extreme diversity in the color of their feathers, as well as the exterior shape, beak shape, and foot type. The diversity in the external form helps in identifying and distinguishing between species and some. So the tongue plays important role in feeding, which exhibit an important morphological variation adaptive to environmental conditions of each habitat. The shape and the structure of the tongue differ significantly among animal species, reflecting the various functions of each respective tongue. The objective of my manuscript, the current work investigated the anatomical and histological structure of the tongue as well as the histochemical structure of the lingual salivary glands in carnivore kingfisher, Helicon semerensis, and the insectivore Hobo ebobus. Methodology. In this manuscript for anatomical and morphological study, we use the stereo microscope, ocular micrometer, and digital camera was used to get photos for measurements. And for histological investigation, we use staining, hematoxylin, and eosine technique for structure identification. And finally, for histochemical investigation, we use the staining Alcian blue to determine acidic carbohydrates, Bass stain to determine neutral carbohydrates, and the mercury bromophenol blue to determine total protein techniques. Results. The results of the current study are summarized in the following point. Number one, anatomically observation. Three parts distinguished from the dorsal surface of the triangular tongue, that's called apex, and carpus and radix. This it is the three important regions in the tongue of kingfisher and hobo. The tongue of kingfisher occupies about the posterior third of the bill, but in hobo it fills about the posterior quarter of the bill. This figure clarifies that there are three regions, apex, corpus, and radix. And we can see one row of lingual papillae, which take V shape in the caudal margin of the lingual wing. In this figure, we can see lingual papilla in hobo birds, but arranged into 2 or 3 rows arranged on the marginal, in the caudal marginal of the lingual wing. Number 2, morphological observations. The measurements of the tongue area and the lingual epithelial thickness of both species are shown in the current table. From this table, you can see different data, and we can summarize it. From the data in this table, we can see there is a significant increase in the length and width of the tongue of kingfisher as compared with the hobo tongue. The previous table clarified that the tongue was elongated, pointed, not bifid in both species, but longer and bigger in kingfisher than in hobo, and slightly more cylindrical in hobo. Histological observation. I will divide the slides into 3 regions, apex, carpus, and radix. In the transverse section of apex region, the dorsal lingual epithelium is composed of keratinized stratified squamous epithelium that is more keratinized in apex than carpus or radix of the tongue, while in the tongue of hobo, the surface of the lingual apex is slightly rough and has non-keratinized epithelium like in these photos. There is a keratinization layer, keratin layer, but in hobo no keratin layer present. In transverse section at the carpus region, the carpus of kingfisher tongue has less keratinization epithelium and contain a few taste buds. We can see in this figure some taste buds of the bulbous form. Also, the present data showed that the kingfisher has 2 backwardly directed filiform papillae in each side at the end of the tongue carpus, while the carpus region of hobo tongue showed a few taste buds like this, and 2 or 3 rows of large conical papillae are located at the end of the lingual carpus, and directed backwardly in a wavy transverse line. The radix region, transverse section in the radix region of the tongue of kingfisher exhibited sharply pointed lingual papillae, lingual spine, and lingual nails that are directed posteriorly. It can observe numerous orifices or opening of the lingual salivary gland at the ventral border of the lingual body. Also, some herpes corpuscles were detected in the lamina propria of the radix, but the radix of HOBO, large number of compound tubulo-alveolar mucous glands are located. Also, a big, large or large herpes carpacles were observed, and the tongue in both species contained the mucous glands that are distributed in the carpus and the radix, while the apex is devoid of glands. Histochemical observation. The histochemical staining technique were chosen to determine the carbohydrate type of the secretion on the lingual salivary glands of both kingfisher and hobo. By Alshan blue stain, that is indicate the lingual glands of both species contain acidic carbohydrate such as sialomyosin and sulfomyosin. Meanwhile, the acidity of the myosin secretion was mostly increased toward the base of the tongue, or increased from the carpus toward the radix in both birds. This figure clarified the radix region staining by Alshan blue, and we can see the difference between them. Both of them have positive staining about the acidity carbohydrates. By Bass stain, which indicates that the lingual glands in both species exhibited large amount of neutral carbohydrate, including glycogen, with non-significant difference between them, while the lingual gland in radix region of kingfisher is revealed a significant increase in the glycogen content as compared with those of the hobo. Mercuric bromophenol blue stain that revealed the moderate content in the carpus and the radix lingual glands in both species without significant differences between them. Conclusion from the previous result, it can be said that the anatomy as well as the histology and histochemistry of the tongue of both birds demonstrates certain specific differences of the tongue in the carnivore kingfisher Helicon semilensis, and the insectivore Hobo eubobus reflects a close relationship between the structures of the tongue and their feeding habitat. Thank you for your kind attention, and I can ready to answer any question.
Thank you, Dr. Fathi, for this informative research, and I hope you all wishes, inshallah, in your future. Now, we ask if anybody have any questions to Dr. Fathi. Any questions? Thank you, Dr. Fathi.
Thank you, Dr. Ala.
And for this good presentation and good informative work. And I hope you wish you all best, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Wa alaikum assalam.
Now, Dr. Nidal. Dr. Nidal Fahmi. Dr. Nidal.
Yes. You hear me,
Okay.
Dr. Ala?
Yes, yes, hear you. Now we have my colleague, Dr. Nidal. She was my student, but now she is my colleague. And she is working in Tabuk University. And she is really, as I know her, really a very distinctive researcher, and I hope you will enjoy the presentation, inshallah. Now the mic with you, Dr. Nidal.
Thank you, Doctor. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to join these great colleagues in the International Conference of Biological, Biomedical Sciences, Biotechnology and Applications. I would like to thank conference organizers due to their obvious effort. And special thanks go to my, my teacher and my professor, Dr. Ala. I was one of his students over 20 years ago. He taught me a lot, and I do appreciate his great help, being very near always. The present research deals with beta-glucosidases, distribution and factors affecting activity in the cotton leafworm Spodoptera literaris. The cotton leafworm Spodoptera literaris is a major pest for many crops. Considered as one of the most destructive polyphagous pests in tropical and subtropical regions all over the world, causing great damage of variable important crops as cotton, orchard, and ornamental trees. The current strategy, controlling for sorrow upon great extent upon applying pesticides and eventually the evolution of pest resistance as well as environmental contamination. And accordingly, we need to develop more environmentally acceptable alternatives for the management of such serious pests. I think something went wrong because presentation does not go, yes. Insect digestive system is the most important interface between any insect and its environment. And of course, better understanding of this system will helpfully enable us to develop better methods for controlling the pest. Insect carbohydrate enzymes include amylase, glucosidase, and galactosidases. Glycosidases, in particular, are type of digestive enzymes which are widespread almost in living organisms, including bacteria, fungi, as well as both invertebrates and vertebrates, with different functions among these organisms. In insects, glycosidases have a crucial role in carbohydrate digestion. Beta-glucosidases, in particular, is responsible for the terminal digestion of hemicellulose and cellulose and hemicellulose. They are able to convert carbohydrates into di and oligo beta-saccharides by some carbohydrates in their digestive system. Beta-glucosidases hydrolyze from 1 to 4 linkage between these di and oligo disaccharides, converting them into glucose, which is later absorbed and metabolically used by the insect. As far as we know, very little available knowledge of digestive physiology of this enzyme. Thus, the goal of the present study is to trace activity tetra of beta-glucosidases in cotton leafworm, distribution of enzyme in different larval tissues, response of beta-glucosidases to some physiological process such as molting and starvation, and in vitro effects of some inorganic salts of beta-glucosidases catalysis. Here as being observed in the opposite figure, we notice that beta-glucosidase activity of different developmental stages of Spodoptera literaris was measured in eggs, larval, pupal, prepupal, and pupal, and adult stages of cotton leafworm Spodoptera litellaris. The enzyme reached its maximum activity in larval and adult stage. The activity was rather high in egg stage, but significantly lower than the larval and adult ones. A dramatic decrease of beta-glucosidase activity was detected during prepupal and the pupal stage compared to that larval one. This is logic, and this increase is logic because beta-glucosidase activity is in both larval and adult stages rather than non-feeding ones, eggs and pupae. This may be attributed to the need of polysaccharides degradation into monosaccharide for energy supply of the insect monosaccharides. And feeding is intensified at larval instars, especially at the last instar, due to the need of energy saving for further growth and development. Also, oviposition needs high energy demand, which eventually leads to high metabolic rates in adults. The considerable activity of beta-glucosidase in the egg stage may point somehow to another undiscovered non-nutritional role of this enzyme. Here we are tracing beta-glucosidase activity distribution in different larval tissue. This is the whole beta-glucosidase. This is the beta-glucosidase present only in hemolymph, in gut, and integument and the remainder tissue. When beta-glucosidase was measured in hemolymph, gut, and integument, a significant difference in enzyme activity was detected between the different tissues. The major activity of beta-glucosidase was detected surprisingly in hemolymph and not in the gut, as was expected. The lowest enzymatic activity was detected in larval integument, where it represented only 12% of the larval enzyme activity as observed on the opposite figure. The detection of high activity in larval hemolymph of Spodoptera litellaris may direct our thinking again to another non-digestive role of this enzyme. Some Lepidopteran insects use beta-glucosides hemolymph as a defensive weapon against predators, pathogens, and they may attack. Then this can be carried out by beta-glucosidase mediated release of toxic substances like glucoside precursors as cyanogenic and phenolic glucosides. Beta-glucosidase's activity were examined also in different intervals before and during and after the malting process. Beta-glucosidase activity was measured at 30 and 12 hours before malting, during malting, and after malting in the fifth instar, onset of the fifth one. Generally, malting process had no effect on beta-glucosidase. In other words, beta-glucosidase showed no special activity changes during this critical period. Generally, beta-glucosidase activity has a slight higher increase during and just after malting than hours preceding it. It's well known that larvae stop feeding prior or during malting. Accordingly, the detected activity of beta-glucosidase found prior, during, and after the larval malting points out strongly again that this enzyme is not only for a digestive function, but it may somehow be involved in the malting process. This seems logic because during malting, many enzymes are working in harmony. For instance, trihalase is activated to degrade trihalose to glucose for chitin buildup. To our knowledge, no study has yet demonstrated a relation between beta-glucosidase and malting, but the present data shed the light on this expected relation. Now we are dealing with beta-glucosidase activity during starvation periods. When fourth larval instar were starved for 12, 24, and 36 hours, beta-glucosidase activity had a significantly gradual increase, which was proportional with time as compared to normally fed larvae. After 36 hours starvation, beta-glucosidase has about 2 folds of the normal fed ones appears in the figure. Again, this may be point out of beta-glucosidase play another non-digestive role. In some insects, there was no significant difference of beta-glucosidase activity in mid-gut, which containing food and without food. So again, it confirmed our thought about non-digestive function. Beta-glucosidase activity in fourth level in a star of Spodoptera littoralis fed on different host plants. When fourth in a star larvae of Spodoptera littoralis were allowed to feed upon different host plant types, namely castor bean, grapevine, cabbage, as well as artificial diets, beta-glucosidase activity showed some significant changes according to the source of nutrition as shown in figure. Plants are able to form different allochemicals such as glycosides, phenols, and alkaloids as defensive barriers against phytophagous pests. Beta-glucosidases in insects, besides being involved in carbohydrates metabolism, they play an important role in insect-plant interaction. They are able to cleave plant-toxic glycosides, which may produce cyanide after their hydrolysis, or other toxic inhibitors to vitally important enzymes, such as trehalase, glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase. Since some insects can overcome such toxicity via lowering beta-glucosidases, but it seems this is not true in our insects in the present study, because our larva, Spodoptera littoralis larva, seems to be able to feed normally upon different host plants, and levels of glycosidases showed nearly no significance between these and artificial diets. Such variable response among different insects can be attributed to the difference in performance of insect detoxification mechanism after the hydrolysis of glucoside, or may depend on differential beta-glucosidase specificity. It's worth to mention that pest control using a resistant plant varieties is considered as an important practice relying mainly on plant inhibitors. Hence, the study of insects' digestive system and their interaction with such inhibitors will be with great help in pest management strategy. The table shows beta-glucosidase activity in fourth larval in a star treated with different chemical compounds. The ascending order of such salts according to their inhibitory effects was EDTA, the least one, sodium chloride, calcium chloride, and copper sulfate. Copper sulfate was the most prominent one, by the way. Incubation of beta-glucosidases for 10 minutes with different molar concentrations of organic salts showed inhibitory effects upon fourth larval in a star. Glycosidase ability to hydrolyze salicine inhibition depended on concentration and compound type. 10 millimoles of sodium chloride was the only salt that caused activation, slight activation, to beta-glucosidase activity. However, when it's used in higher concentrations, it shows also inhibitory effects. Inhibitors of insect digestive system have been used to control insect pests, especially using resistance varieties, getting the genes encoding the inhibitors or increased amount of inhibitors. In addition to their role in digestion, glucosidases have an important role in plant herbivore co-evolution because of their importance in breaking down secondary metabolites in plant. So inhibition of this enzyme can be with great help in controlling the insect. The present study shed the light for the first time on the preliminary correlation between the enzyme and different physiological states like molting, starvation, tissue distribution, and etc. throughout the entire life cycle, as well as inhibitory effect of some inorganic salts. beta-glucosidase in insect cells play a multifunctional role rather than being only a digestive one. For sorrow, few studies point out its defensive role against plant toxins or even germs and microbes. Other roles of this enzyme seems to be still obscured and undiscovered. Further studies are needed to trace this enzyme because the study of the mechanism of carbohydrate digestion enzyme in herbivorous insects is important not only for understanding digestion biochemistry, but also developing insect management strategies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nidal. Now we have a very good and informative presentation. Thank you. And a question from Dr. Rasha Mustafa.
Yes.
Is there any relation between beta-galactosidases and glycoproteins that important in protein defense?
Yes, there is a relation between them. Because the function of beta-glucosidases is involved with glucose mainly. Thus, glycoproteins are in the same court. Lipoproteins, glycoproteins,
Glyco.
Yes, lipo and proteinaceous mixed sugars like glycoproteins are beta-glucosidase is involved in formation of such compounds because this enzyme responsible mainly for analyzing or hydrolysis of complicated sugars, oligo sugars, not very complicated one, into glucose. Glucose is precursor for forming the glucosidic part in the glycoproteins. That question, I answered the question. I understood it correctly.
Dr. Nidal?
Yes. You don't hear me, Dr.
Another question. You see it?
No, I'm going to
Gene expression over of beta-galactoside enhancing the defense.
Mm-hmm. Yes, in what organism this occurs? You have to mention the organism because beta-glucosidase present all over the living organisms, starting from bacteria and ending with mammals. And it has every time another function different from an organism to another. So overexpression sometimes means defensive function, and overexpression means another meaning in another living organism. Depends upon the organism mainly.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much, Dr. Nidal.
Thank you, Dr. Ala.
And excuse me, you can now stop sharing.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm trying to stop sharing, but something went wrong. I'm trying.
Now we have Dr. Muhammad Aufi معنا. Dr. Muhammad Aufi. Dr. Muhammad Aufi is here.
I don't think so.
Yes.
He's not joined.
Dr. Aufi. Dr. Aufi is here.
No, doctor, he is not. He's not joined.
Not.
Yeah. Not.
Now we will go to Dr. Asma Mahi. Asma.
Yes.
Asma.
Yes. She is in.
I think she is here.
Yes.
Please unmute her.
Yeah, I have to ask. I sent her a request.
على الزوم تعمل طبعا هم قصه الهواء على الزوم فدخل اسقف لهم.
Now,
Yeah, I think she's getting ready. So just a second.
yeah. Now let me introduce my international student Asma Umahi. She has 6 publications. She's a PhD student. And inshallah, it will. She finished the first part of the PhD, and it will complete the PhD with me in the resistance gene, and now she will talk about the cytochrome oxidase and insect resistance. Now, Asma, are you hearing me?
Yes, respected Prof.
Yeah, you can talk. Now the mic with you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum
I will
salam.
first, okay. Good. I will first start by greeting everyone. And my special regards to the organizers of this great conference for giving me the opportunity to talk. I really term this as a golden opportunity that is being given to me. As Prof has introduced me, I'm Asma Umahi from Bayero University, Kano, Nigeria. Mine is a mini review on cytochrome P450 and insecticide resistance. Cytochrome P450 is an enzyme family that catalyzes reactions of phase 1 metabolism. It is a major enzyme in oxidative biotransformation. This enzyme is seen bound to membranes within a cell, as the cyto from its name, and then contains a heme pigment, the chrome, and a P that absorbs light at the wavelength of 450 nanometer. It makes substance more water soluble by introducing an oxygen atom from molecular oxygen. It's transfer an oxygen atom to the substrate, then the other substrate becomes more water soluble, which makes it more readily excreted by the body. This substrate can be in various forms. It can be an endogenous substrate or an exogenous substrate. The endogenous substrates can be steroid hormones, fatty acid within the organism. And the exogenous substrates can be from drugs. They can be from drugs, from toxins or carcinogens obtained from the food we eat and the air we breathe in. Cytochrome P450 is first line of defense. It's also involved, as I said, in detoxification. So cytochrome P450 is very important in detoxification
it helps when overexpressed or when it has an increased activity. It helps in the detoxification of insecticides, and this is a major challenge that hinders vector control of disease vectors, because the vector control is part of major strategy in trying
Asma,
to
excuse me.
eliminate this.
Asma,
Sir?
excuse me.
Sir?
Your presentation is stuck. Please change the slides.
Yes, sir.
Now
Hello?
you
The
are
slides?
in the first slide. Yeah, slide does not change.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
please
Yes.
change the slide.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, now you can go on.
Okay. And then cytochrome P450 is part of the enzymes, among others. There are other enzymes like the glutathione S transferase. It also helps in detoxification of this insecticide, and there are esterases too that are involved in detoxifications. Other enzymes that are not as much as these cytochrome P450 esterases and glutathione transferases are the UDP glucosyl transferases. So insecticide resistance can be known as the ability of vector to tolerate or to endure lethal dose. That's the dose that can be able to kill insects of the same species. That's the susceptible population can be able to be killed by that dose, but other resistance insecticide will be able to, they have the ability to tolerate that dose. So by way of introduction, this, as I said, this insecticide resistance is very worrisome. It's disturbing. It's very it's very disturbing. It is a problem that hinders the control of vector transmitted diseases. Insect vectors are believed to transmit about 20% of total infectious diseases which affect humans in developing countries, that's the low-income countries. These diseases include dengue, malaria, West Nile virus, lymphatic filariasis, and elephantitis. These diseases have major effects in the economy of those endemic countries, the social well-being, and also in environmental, they affect the environment. For example, economically, they hinder the growth of the economy of such countries by affecting the worker productivity, that's the employees. When they are infected, their productivity is low, and it also leads to absenteeism from work. Social factors too they can also affect the fertility, like in elephantitis too, they damage the genitals. Chemicals, insecticides are still the primary defense against the spread of the vector-transmitted diseases, although insecticide resistance is strongly affecting the vector control, as I said. This insecticide resistance is emerging as a result of so many factors. Among them is the issue of selection pressure. This selection pressure comes through the agricultural practices, urbanization, and from industrializations and pollutants too. But these disease vector come across. For like example, some of the chemicals that are used in agricultural practices, the herbicides like the atrazine, glyphosate, they help in making these disease vector to acquire, let me call it, acquire tolerance to future insecticides that are being used against them. They get access to these from agricultural areas or from the environment where they breed. So all these things help them in acquiring these resistance, because most of these herbicides that are used can either be from the same class or can either have the same mode of action with the insecticides that are being used against this vector, this disease vector, or can even have the same target. So this experience they have can help them to have tolerance. They will not, the dosage will not be enough to be lethal to kill them, but it will make them to develop resistance against their own made insecticides. Sorry. The use of insecticide is still valid despite its impact on environment. As we all know, chemical insecticides have impact on the environment, but there are, for some diseases like malaria and dengue fever, there are still these insecticides are still used for the control of these vectors that causes these diseases. For example, in the case of malaria, in low-income countries, there are issues of affordability of these anti-malarial drugs. There are issues of drug resistance. This drug resistance is very much hindering the eradication or the elimination of malaria. And in the case of dengue too, the issue of antiviral therapies is still have so many questions to answer. And then still the issue of vaccines too is still on the way, with many reports of side effects of these these vaccines against dengue, negative side effects. Although natural alternatives that are regarded as environmental friendly are being encouraged for vector control. This involve the use of sterile toxins from like Bacillus thuringiensis. Chemical methods used commonly include the chemicals can be in form of insecticide treated materials. These are in form of, example is the insecticide treated nets. We have the long LLINS, that's the long-lasting insecticide treated nets. The Indo-residual spray, and then the spraying and purging. Currently, there are 4 classes of insecticide approved by the World Health Organization. These insecticides have 2 modes, mainly have 2 modes of action. That's the first set, that's the DDT, which is an organochlorine, and pyrethroids. They alter, or their mode of action is on sodium channel. And then the other 2 are by organophosphates and carbamates, which inhibits the enzyme acetylcholine esterase. This slide shows the biochemical targets of synthetic insecticides. Here we have the pyrethroids and the DDT. When they are active, when they are active, they block, they bind to these voltage, sodium voltage gated channel. When they get bind to it, they alter it. Thus, they change its conformation. They change its conformation, thereby interfering with the influx of ions. So there are some cases here where there are modifications. Either there is a point, or either there's a single point substitution, or there is single points which results in mutation. It has been recorded, it has been reported for Musca domestica, that's the houseflies. There is a substitution of the amino acid leucine by phenylalanine at the 6th segment of domain 2. It was first seen, as I said, in housefly, in Musca domestica, and also in German cockroach. It has been observed. This really this mechanism is termed the target insensitivity. When there is this mutation, then the target will be insensitive to these insecticides. So it cannot bind, more or less exerting the effect on it. The next groups are the organophosphates and carbamates. They act by inhibiting the enzyme acetylcholine esterase. This acetylcholine esterase is an enzyme that is involved in termination of nerve impulse transmission. The enzyme catalyzes the reaction. It hydrolyzes the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. It breaks it to choline and acetic acid. So by these insecticides coming to bind or coming to inhibit acetylcholine, therefore there will be accumulation. It will stop the reaction it catalyzes. So there will be accumulation of the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. This accumulation will result in hyperstimulation of receptors, and it will cause disruption of neurotransmission. And also here, if there is any mutation, any single mutation in the acetylcholine esterase, then there is going to be hindrance of the effect of these insecticides. Cytochrome P450, being one of the main enzymes for detoxification, will act on these insecticides before they even exert the effect of being insecticidal. Before they exert their lethal effect, then it has already detoxified it. It has made it non-toxic. Cytochrome P450 have played major roles in developing resistance to insecticide by providing shield. It shields against the xenobiotics and chemical insecticide. These enzymes are an important part of detoxification system, as I said, act in metabolizing foreign compounds and carcinogens. We've said this, and they are the first line of defense against xenobiotics. Cytochrome P450 are monooxygenases. They have the ability to absorb at 450 nanometer wavelength when bound to cyanide. It is an integral membrane protein, possesses a single heme group. Cytochrome P450 has well-conserved structure in all known forms, but it changes its conformation only when it is bound to a ligand. The heme ion has the ability to form 6 bonds, 4 with porphyrin ring, 1 with a protein, and 1 can be
no voice, no voice. No voice.
or ligand.
اسماء، دكتورة اسماء وماهي are here.
she has a connection problem. So,
Connection problem?
I believe she has a connection problem, but she is already inside, plugged in, but unshared. And
Okay. We will go to Rami.
just a second.
Rami Isa.
And just a second for her to come.
Yeah. Now you are the last talker, last speaker, and you are welcome with us. I'm glad, especially to see you. And let me introduce you to the attendees. This is Rami Isa. He is one of the best students in my team. One of the best team. And this is the second article from his MSc thesis. And now, Rami, you will give us a talk, not more than 15 minutes. Yeah.
Dr. Ala, Dr. Asma is back.
Welcome back.
Return
back.
Yes.
Yes, I'm back, sir. I'm back.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Rami, you will wait, inshallah. Okay. Dr. Asma.
Yes, respected Prof.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Nothing.
Yes. Sorry.
No. You have another.
Okay.
Five minutes. Excuse me. 5 minutes. Okay.
Okay. Inshallah. Okay. So sorry everyone for these technical problem. I'll continue. This is the nomenclature. I'm going to first the nomenclature of cytochrome P450. It is being divided, as I said, into families and subfamilies, and then the individual member of each family is also numbered. And cytochrome P450 catalyzes this reaction. NADPH supplies the reducing equivalent. And the molecular oxygen here, it's activated and it's being splitted. One goes to the substrate here, which can be drug, an insecticide, a carcinogen, and then here we have the other one is being reduced to water. And electron transfer to cytochrome P450 is catalyzed by the enzyme NADPH cytochrome P450 reductase. This is what happened. This is the cytochrome. This is the enzyme that catalyzes the transfer of this electron to cytochrome P450. This slide shows the components of endoplasmic reticulum microsomal cytochrome P450 system. There is also a mitochondrial cytochrome P450 system. This microsomal is in the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and it is linked with detoxification of xenobiotics as the foreign compounds. While the mitochondrial cytochrome P450 system, it's been linked, it's been associated with inner mitochondrial membrane, and it is linked to, it is associated with biosynthesis of steroid hormones. Common reactions catalyzed by cytochrome P450 include aliphatic aromatic hydroxylation, epoxidation, dealkylation, and N-oxidation. Cytochrome P450 and resistance to insecticides. The mechanism behind resistance to insecticides are complicated. They include both physiological and behavioral. This physiological can be target site insensitivity. The site that is being targeted will be insensitive to the chemical insecticide, thereby nullifying the action of this insecticide. Sorry. Secondly, there is metabolic. Increase activity or increase the genes of excretion. The insecticide will be excreted increasingly. And then the one there is decrease in penetration. Hello? There will be decrease in penetration. Then in the case of behavioral, we have some of these disease vectors are they are exophagic, some are exophilic, and some are endophilic, while others are endophagic. When they are exophagic, that means some feeding inside and resting outside. So as the case may be, this behavioral modification also hinders the vector control. Metabolic resistance has to do with changes in detoxification pathway and expression of enzymes. This type of resistance is said to occur. It is increased by the breakdown of insecticide, mostly by production of detoxification enzyme. Out of this enzyme mentioned, cytochrome P450, as earlier mentioned, is the main enzyme family linked with resistance to many insecticides, like the pyrethroids. High levels of P450 activities were observed in pyrethroid resistance in African countries. Some P450s that are linked to resistance are these. The following are seen. There are the genes that are seen to be overexpressed, broadly overexpressed, and hence regarded as resistance diagnostic markers. Increased overexpression of these cytochrome 6M2 levels have been identified in DDT-resistant population of vectors from Ghana. Also, this cytochrome 6ZI has been shown to be overexpressed in both DDT pyrethroid resistance population. Overexpression of cytochrome 6ZI2 has been reported in resistant vectors too. That's why they are being regarded as resistance diagnostic markers. In conclusion, knowledge of which insecticide is being degraded, but by what type of cytochrome P450 is significant in order to stop or in order to limit the effect of insecticide resistance. Identification of more cytochrome P450s linked with insecticide breakdown in vectors will aid in developing new chemical insecticide to produce new vector control strategies. The challenges of identifying this vector cytochrome P450s is
for this very nice and very informative presentation about the cytochrome protein family,
thank you.
which is and its relation to the insect resistance. Now, I ask if anybody want to ask Dr. Asma anything, any questions? Thank you. No questions, Asma. Thank you for this nice presentation, and thank you to be with with us?
I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this opportunity. I'm
Thank
really
you. Thank you,
grateful.
Asma.
Alhamdulillah.
Excuse me. Stop sharing of your
Okay.
presentation. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Rami,
Thank you. I'm grateful.
Dr. Rami, are you here? Rami. Okay, okay. You can now, Dr. Rabia, excuse me.
He's on mute.
Now, Rami, the mic with you, and you can start the presentation, inshallah, in 15 minutes at most. You can share presentation? Rami, I didn't hear you. No voice from your side. No voice.
No.
Dr. Rabia?
He has a problem in the mic.
Rami, you have a problem in the mic. You can talk from the mic of the computer.
Can you unplug it? Unplug the mic?
What?
Unplug the mic and try to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rami? No voice. No voice. Excuse me. Just unplug the mic and then insert it. Okay? Insert it again and talk. Can you talk from the mic of the computer? We didn't hear anything. Now examine your voice.
He is talking, but nothing coming out.
You can restart your computer and join join again. Okay?
This is join.
Unfortunately, we can't hear anything. No voice.
Yes, he has a technical problem, I believe so, and then the computer itself. No. Still has a technical problem.
Rami?
Yeah, he still has a technical problem.
Yeah. could you talk without your phone, without your headphone, or on the computer mic, like all of us?
No. Okay. So I believe we can move on since he has a problem.
Can he
He can hear us, but
Rami,
there's a problem in the mic itself.
you have a problem in the mic.
Yeah, man.
No voice.
Yes.
When you join with voice of the computer or what?
Okay. Let's try once more. May you?
Yes, I think if Rami, can you get out and get in again? Leave the room and join another time. Okay? Leave the room and join another time.
Okay.
Dr. Rabia,
Yes.
can you get him out?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, get him out and he will join. I will contact with WhatsApp with him. Okay,
Sure.
get him out and let he join another time. If the problem persists, we can cancel.
If I take him out, he will never come back. So yes.
Okay.
So
Rami.
Maybe he can go out by himself.
Okay. Okay. Rami. Rami. Rami.
I'm writing to him. So.
Rami. Dr. Rabia, unmute him. Dr. Rabia.
Yes, yes. No.
Yeah. Rami, can you talk? No. رامي excuse me. سيب الغرفة وادخل مرة تانية. سيب الغرفة أصلا هنا يعني ليف من الروم هنا من زوم ليف زوم وبعدين جوين مرة تانية. اوكي؟ يلا. Yeah.
He's not back.
Dr. Rabi, he joined.
No,
Now
no,
can you talk, Rami?
he's not back. He's not back.
Please talk.
He is not back yet.
No, he is backing.
Back, yes. Okay.
Yeah. Rami, are you here?
Yeah, he cannot speak out again. He can hear us, but he cannot speak. So he still has this problem. So I suggest move on.
Rami, you still have a problem.
So we can move on.
Okay. Dr. Rabi, I think we can end the conference.
Yes.
And thank you all for your presentation and for your attendance. And we are really glad to see you here. Inshallah, we will see you in another conferences in future. Now we are with Dr. Rabia.
I would like to invite Dr. Kuzom to just give a closing speech, and we'll conclude after all.
Good evening, all of you. It is a matter of great satisfaction that the 2-day-long NCSET 2020 and BBA SBA 2020 has come to a successful end with the complete participation of the scholars and respective speakers and the person concerned. I hope that deliberations, exchange, and provocative discussions have enriched the minds that can make use of the research ideas for their future implementation in respective fields. I'm quite convinced that for the last 2 days, you have been able to share knowledge and explore computer science, biologically, biomedical, and bioinformation research perspective for the benefit of our research interest. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our respective keynote speakers for sharing their exemplary work. I would like to acknowledge our distinguished speakers for taking out time from their busy schedule and gracing the conference. I would like to convey my heartfelt thanks to each and every distinguished guest for gracing the occasion. I would like to extend a special thanks to the Journal Chair, Dr. Rabi Ramdan, and Professor Ala Al-Sufi for making NCSET 2020 and BBSBA 2020 possible. Needless to say that the Technical Program Committee and Organizing Committee made extraordinary efforts for the success of this program. Now, this is for your information. The conference recording and the presentation will be shared with you by July 10th, as your feedback is very important for us. So we will share 2 links with you, one for the conference feedback and another one to fill your complete information for certificate processing. You are requested to reply promptly to fasten the process of your certificates. The second NCSET 2021 will be floated next year, inshallah. The website will be ready in a month, and we will welcome your contributions, suggestions, and support. At last, I congratulate each and every one of us for our efforts and hard work. Hope to see you all in next conference. Thank you very much. Have a great day ahead. Over to Dr. Rabi.
Thank you, Dr. Kuzom. Thank you, Dr. Ala. And we thank all of our participants. As Dr. Kuzom said, we'll share with you 2 forms by email. Because you already registered, so we have your email. We'll be sending out the 2 forms, one for the feedback and another one to fill your information. By the end, I'd like to thank all of our speakers, keynote speakers, And thank you all for all the attendees to the conference from the beginning till the end. Thank you for patience, and I believe it was a great time to have it to spend with you in these 2 days. Thank you all. We'll see you in the next conference, or even we will be holding some workshops in between. Thank you all.
Doctor, excuse me, Mr. Rabia. Dr. Rabia.
Yes. Yes, Dr.
Excuse me. You have we have to make a note about the forthcoming.
Yes, we already mentioned it at the beginning in the opening. It will be in a month. The websites will be ready, and the place it is almost confirmed that it will be in Turkey, but we are figuring our choices so far. So in a month, everything will be settled, and the submission as well. So
thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we'll share all of the presentations, and based on the approval of the speakers, we'll get their approval, and we'll share the presentations with you all. Also, there are some people asking about the journals. So we'll decide on which paper we'll send it to which journal based on that. So thank you all. I'll see you very soon.